Porpoise Pod, another edition here. Tobin and Solana back at it after the Dolphins fall to 3-2 against the New York Jets. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our brief post game as Solana had to haul ass to the bus. Did you make it? People want to know. It appears you did.
I did. I made it. I probably had a little more time than I thought. So all's well for my endeavors to get back home to Miami.
Good. What do you days out of this, Solana, all the injuries that they have right now, listening to Mike McDaniel on Monday, Teron Armstead doesn't sound good. Tyreek Hill in a walking boot. Xavier Howard, who knows? Byron Jones, he ain't coming back. And Tua Tagovailoa, I guess we'll know more on Wednesday, but he's not even cleared for football yet. And Teddy Bridgewater, he may not be able to practice until Thursday. It's a real cluster bleep over there at Miami Gardens and trying to scrape a team together right now. I think the majority of their captains, are banged up and can't play. So, I mean, how much faith can we have in this team righting the ship and getting things right against a Vikings team that's 4-1 when you don't even know who the hell is going to be out there on Sunday?
Yeah. It's a scary thought, right? Having to suffer through another 4 quarters of Skylar Thompson.
Yes.
And how the script has been flipped on Skylar Thompson. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Tobin, this was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule. Yep. 3-1. We were looking at these games saying, it'll be all right. Everything will be okay. And then Teddy Bridgewater knocked out of the game, never had any concussion-like symptoms, but because of the new rules, he's out of the game anyways. And, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't concerned for the next couple of weeks. I get it. Sunday Night Football versus the Steelers, which, by the way, has not been flexed out of Sunday Night Football. I saw Barry Jackson tweet it earlier. Considering all the Dolphins injuries, considering how bad Pittsburgh is and how they got rocked by the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, well, we know why. Because they're hoping Tua's back. They get that Tua Flores storyline. That's why.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what they want to do.
Exactly what it is. But, yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't concerned, mostly because of the injuries. Besides Tua, I mean, this team, they're banged up. And I guess we haven't seen Teddy Bridgewater because one play is certainly not a large enough sample size to say anything about what he would have been able to do with Tyreek and with Jalen Waddle. But let's be real. I mean, this team is going to struggle if Tua's not out there throwing to their best weapons. And the offensive line, Tobin, no bueno.
No, it's not. I mean, look, that was going to catch up with them when both of your tackles are out. And it does sound like Austin Jackson is on the way back, which is positive. I mean, you get some kind of another body out there, some depth built up. I think that's an important thing. But, the Teron Armstead thing is concerning because, you did sign a guy. And, typically when you get a guy who has maybe elite talent, but you get him on the free agent market, there's some kind of a flaw. Like there's no perfect free agent typically. If it is, it's usually you have to do what you did with Tyreek Hill, where you're going to have to give up a lot of assets for him. When you just have to give up cash for a guy, there's usually a catch. And the catch with Teron Armstead is he's not a 16, 17 game player. He's a 12, 13 game player. And you probably knew you're going to deal with this. And we know that they've been playing with fire with him all season because he hasn't been practicing. And for him to go out there after having all that time off and not practicing is concerning because it doesn't feel like his injury, which he's been really dealing with all year, has gotten any better.
Yeah. And we talked about it, right, where that's one of those guys, he's probably just not going to practice. You hope he's able to suit up. But the fact that he had to leave the game, never got back out there, we've heard that he's left games after the completion of the games, was banged up. It's not good. And as well as, Brandon Shell, as many good snaps he can give you, I mean, Greg Little is just he's getting torched out there. Eichenberg
isn't he also playing with like a lobster claw? Because I feel like there was one game where they wrapped up the tape on his hands. Like that can't be all the way healed either.
Nope. So this team is banged up. And guess what, Tobin? We can talk about it, but nobody's going to give you any excuses in the NFL because everybody's aching.
No, unless you're a Bills fan.
Right. Then, that the loss to the Dolphins didn't count because half their roster was out, even though it really wasn't. I mean, they had
Right.
Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, so really, who cares?
I actually thought I thought the secondary did decent without Xavier Howard. The bigger concern for me was they were getting gashed up the middle with runs. There were certainly some broken coverages on wheel routes and things like that. But, I thought for as explosive as the Jets have looked at times with their outside weapons in their passing game, he only had 200 yards from Zach Wilson. The coin flip of that is they're not a very good running team, and they really beat you up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't seem like they were exposing the secondary as much as it was just specific instances of your coverage getting blown, right? There was that one play, you mentioned the wheel route where, who was it? Brees Hall, just nobody's even covering him, and he's able to get out into the flat and just runs like a go route, and he's wide open. Nobody was within 20 yards. So I don't think that's too concerning, those big type of plays. I mean, typically that's just a mistake by the defense, and it's abnormal from the Dolphins secondary. But man, this defense was set up. We talked about it. Byron Jones on one side, Xavier Howard on the other. And when those two guys are out, as good as our depth has been in the secondary this year, with the emergence of Kader Kahu and Keon Crossan has given you something, and I guess Noah got some run, and he wasn't absolutely terrible, if that's where we're going to set the bar at. But those two guys are out, you're going to struggle, and that's exactly what happened. And the big guys up front are paying for it as well.
Yeah, they have been, and I think that one of the things that's concerning is that I think we gave this defense the marking and the title of being elite. Even Mike McDaniel said after week 1 that this is still the defense's team. And they've come up in clutch situations. And I think Josh Boyer had said something to the point of, we're not really worried about the stats. The point is, let's get the football back to our offense. And it had been successful for them for the most part. They've gotten burned with some pretty key turnovers too on the from Skylar's fumble or Teddy Bridgewater's late interception. These have been things that, as a defense, you can only take so many hits like that. But I don't know, for them to have a full shutdown game, we haven't really seen that. And you think about the struggles that they had early last year when they got off to such a rocky start. You wonder, all right, did we buy too much into this defense? Did we think that a defense that maybe we considered playoff good, is it not quite there yet? And maybe this isn't the defense's team, which was, probably what everybody thought it was going into the year.
Yeah, and you're seeing it, right, where it's going to have to be that balanced effort. You're going to need big performances from your offense every game, big plays, put points up on the board, and you're going to need the defense to, at the very least, keep you in games. And if the offense does turn the ball over, pull you out of tough spots, which, by the way, the Dolphins D did in the beginning of that game. Just look at the first couple of drives. The Jets come down the field, they get a first down or two, but then the Dolphins defense holds. Right. And then Miami gets the ball. It's a good special teams play by the Jets defense, which seemed to happen a couple times where the Dolphins consistently were starting in their own territory, like deep in their own territory. But when you go back and you watch the game, so many drives for the Jets are starting with the Dolphins defense already in their own territory, having to defend just 40, 50 yards. You're asking a lot out of a team that's banged up, out of a unit that's banged up. So I don't think it's, time to sound the alarms yet. I do think once people are healthy and you're still looking at some of the schedule and you're saying, okay, these are all winnable games. The Lions, the Bears, if Tua comes back, if X is able to heal, maybe not be 100%, but be 80%. If we even see Byron Jones come back, man, this defense, maybe they're not as great as we built them up to be, but I don't think it's what we saw in the second half against the Jets either.
Yeah, but I do think that, you look at a Vikings team coming in this week that does have a lot of weapons between Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. This is a lot of firepower coming in here. They're 4-1 on the year. They're road favorites now. And I think that if you were talking 2 weeks ago and you had your Dolphins team at more full strength, I don't think that the Vikings probably would be. Maybe it would have been pick 'em. Maybe the Dolphins would have been 1-point favorites. But for them to basically say if this was in Minnesota, they would think that Minnesota was a touchdown better than Miami. To think where we were a couple of weeks ago, riding high and as crazy as we were, it speaks to how much they're going through right now. And, it's tough to ignore the elephant in the room with the idea of, look, as much crap as Tua Tagovailoa gets, as much as he is criticized around here, when they don't have their starting QB, they don't play as well. It's not like rocket science here. And I think that you could say that for a lot of teams. Maybe there's the Cooper Rushes out there who can keep their teams afloat, but he was having a very, very good start to the season and, won an incredible game against the Ravens with one of the most memorable games in the last 30 years for Dolphin fans, beats a rival concussed or with a broken back, either or, take your pick. And who doesn't want that? It's what we've been waiting for with a young quarterback down here forever. And to not have that, to have that taken away in such tragic fashion, it's a tough mental blow, I think, for the team too, because, we can say all the nice compliments we want about Teddy Bridgewater. That's cool, but he's been on a gazillion teams. He's a journeyman at this point. And Skylar Thompson, dude, was a product of the preseason. That's just what it was. And it's fine. I like to get into the silly sauce and buy into it too, but he clearly has a long, long way to go. And so you add all that on top of the fact that maybe this defense was also dealing with injuries. I just don't know what the expectation should be for them to be the team that was the team that started 3-0 right now.
Yeah, and to go back to what you said about the Vikings coming in to Miami being favorites, if Tua's healthy, they're not favorites in this game. Maybe it's a pick 'em, maybe, but Miami gets the advantage there at the very least in the spread. But you're right. Should we alter expectations because Tua's out? Obviously, but I still don't think this Vikings team is a contender for the Super Bowl. I mean, they have great weapons in Justin Jefferson, but I mean, the Bears were able to come back, put some points on the board against them, and the Dolphins are much better than the Chicago Bears. You're back at home after the last two games being on the road. I'm not just writing this one off. Like, if that's what some people want to do, where you're just going to write this one off, chalk it up to injuries and say, well, it is what it is. We'll look ahead. I don't think the right approach here. Obviously, certainly the Dolphins are going to take that approach, Mike McDaniel. But I'm saying, just from our perspective, from a fan's perspective, I don't think you do that. I still think this is a winnable football game if Teddy Bridgewater is able to play.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at the Vikings right now, like, their wins are Green Bay, first week of the season. And, this certainly has not been, the vaunted Green Bay that we've come to know. I think they're good, but that, it definitely looks like Aaron Rodgers maybe taking a little bit of a step back. And then their other wins are Lions, Saints, Bears. None of those teams are good. And their losses to the Eagles, who have beaten everybody so far this year. So maybe they're a little bit of a Fugazi 4-1 coming in here, but
it's Kirk Cousins, Tobin.
I get it, dude. I get it. Look, I'm not scared of Kirk Cousins. I'm scared of all of his friends.
Yeah. But it is Kirk Cousins, not on prime time. Typically, that's when he plays well. The numbers show that's when he plays well.
We need this game flexed.
Zero chance at that happening. But look, would it shock you? Just being optimistic. I know a ton of people right now don't want to do this, right? But would it shock you if the Dolphins defense had a big performance against Minnesota? I get it. They have the weapons. Dalvin Cook is probably going to rush for 3,000 yards against us. Like, that's what we're all expecting. But would it shock you if back at home, Miami's able to force a couple turnovers, maybe get to Kirk Cousins, force another fumble? Like, they've done that. They haven't been able to force turnovers since Buffalo. Who was it? Javon Holland hit Josh Allen and Melvin Ingram, because he's got whatever the opposite of Joel Anthony hands is. That's what Melvin Ingram has. Anytime there's a loose ball.
And FTF, dude, he's got it. He's got it. No, I would say, no, it wouldn't shock me because, like I said, looking over the Vikings, they have elite weapons for sure. And it's a very scary, it's a lot of firepower that you have to stop. But I'm not as confident. Like, to tell you that I think that this defense can shut it down and carry this team, I don't know if I have that faith in them right now. I think because of the injuries, I'm a little bit shook on that right now. I think that they need to show me something. I think that they showed. I think we had some of these questions after the Ravens game for sure. And that fourth quarter kind of swung the momentum. And the Bills' performance was good because they never broke. Like, they have a lot of yards, but they always came up with the big stop. They always came up with the big play. And that was probably their best game of putting pressure on a quarterback in Josh Allen. He's just hard as hell to bring down. But I do think that they do need to get to that level that they were on the second half of last year. If this team is going to have, if you tell me that we have a guy that's going to go out and terrorize Kirk Cousins and does get a couple of pickoffs, yes, certainly then the game is much more in your hands, and they need to pick up whoever their quarterback is, whether it be Bridgewater or Skyler. I don't have any hope it's going to be Tua, because hearing the coach speak, it doesn't sound like Tua is close to playing.
I don't think the coach knows who's going to play, by the way. No. I don't think Mike McDaniel has any idea, or at least he didn't yesterday when he spoke to the media on Monday. I don't think he has any idea of who's going to play. I don't think he really, truthfully, I don't think anybody understands what the protocols are moving forward with Teddy Bridgewater. Had 0 concussion-like symptoms, was cleared to come back in the game, but because of the new rule that was implemented, like 2 hours before kickoff on Sunday, he's not allowed back in the game. He's in concussion protocols, even though he didn't have concussion-like symptoms. Like, I don't think he knows.
Yeah, and I think we should get into that on the other side of Porpoise, probably, because that kind of broke before game day with the Miami Dolphins and where they stand right now with their quarterback and all the scandal, because a lot of people were very mad at the Miami Dolphins. And I do think that, I do think that people should really temper with what happened in regards to that, because you had people calling for lawsuits and firings and all that. And, in the end, nothing was found wrong. But we'll get into that. Porpoise Pod swims on after this. Porpoise Pod swimming on here. Tobin and Solana looking ahead to week 6 against the Minnesota Vikings. Miami Dolphins 3-2, 2 straight losses. Thursday night to the Cincinnati Bengals, now coming off a embarrassing fourth quarter collapse against the New York Jets. They will try and right the ship back in the friendly confines of Hard Rock Stadium coming up this Sunday. But one thing we didn't get to, Solana, because we were kind of rushed on the Sunday show, but the ruling came out on the Miami Dolphins and the whole Tua scandal in regards to, did the Dolphins try and cover this up? Did they do anything against protocols here? And I'm curious what your reaction to was the findings, because, I mean, reading it over, certainly it looks like the Players Association wasn't happy that maybe extra caution wasn't shown, but it definitely shows that the Dolphins didn't do anything wrong, which is what led to them having these extra protocols that led to Teddy Bridgewater being yanked from the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, the optics, we've been saying it, were terrible from the beginning. Nobody's denying that. But my reaction was, hey, we knew Mike McDaniel and this Dolphins organization weren't going to skip any steps in making sure that their star player, the face of their franchise, isn't okay to go back in the game from, the perspective of having a concussion, having a serious head injury. Should he have been out there because of his back injury? Because he maybe had a broken back? The same conversation could be had, and we had it going into that Thursday night football game. I don't know. But
well, it's interesting hearing, because if you listen to Mike McDaniel talk about injuries, he always says, like, as a point of pride for these guys, that they are going to do whatever it takes to get out there and play, and says it a lot in regards to his veterans, Xavier Howard, Teron Armstead. These are guys who don't practice during the week a lot, but he trusts in them because they're going to do whatever it takes to play. And I do think that, I don't think it's a wrong thing. I think that if you want to say, was it maybe the right idea for Mike McDaniel to allow Tua to push to play in that Thursday night game? Probably not. In hindsight, yeah, that was the wrong decision. But do I think it was a case of Mike McDaniel saying to the doctors, hey, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me if he's concussed. No, I think he is a guy. He's a player's coach. He listens to these guys. He looks at them as warriors and that want to play through stuff to be out there for their teammates. And that was a Thursday night game where a ton of guys played hurt. Xavier Howard, I get it's more serious because it's a back, but Xavier Howard's playing through a bad groin. Teron Armstead's been playing with turf toe basically since week 2. Jalen Wall has been playing with a banged up groin. These guys are all playing with something. And I think as the coach, he really respects when he sees these guys trying to gear themselves up to play through anything to get out there. And Tua is no different because Tua knows what the book is on him. He knows that durability is a question for him. Yeah, I hear people criticizing him not knowing how to fall correctly. I'm just like, Jesus, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but the only criticism that I think is fair of Tua from that specific situation was that ball should have been thrown away. And not that it matters now in the grand scheme of things, but that ball should have been thrown away. And that's really been our knock. Like we've talked about it a bunch.
Yeah, that's him.
Right.
Like that's what got his hip hurt. Like that's I don't know if that's ever going to be out of him. He's always going to try and extend a play.
Yeah. Yeah. Extend a play when there's no need to. And when really there's nothing left to extend. Like the options to extend the play are done, but he continues to try to get around the defender. Like, just go down, bro. Throw the ball away or just go down, and it helps your team in the long run. And if you want to criticize him for that, fine. But Tobin, to go back to your point where these guys are warriors and they want to play through injuries, as fans, you want that from your players. Like, that's what we celebrate all the time. Guys fighting through injuries, right? McCorkle right now, just because it's happening right now, he had that high ankle sprain. And there were those reports where McCorkle kind of wanted to go, get a second opinion because the Patriots wanted to rush him back and he didn't want to get rushed back. And Patriots fans are slamming Mac Jones because of it, calling him soft, saying he's selfish, he's not putting the team first. Like, I'm really upset at how the reaction, even outside of Miami, was, oh, well, the Dolphins, they should have known better. They should have kept Tua from hurting himself. And I'm thinking, all the media does, all the fan bases do, is urge their players to play through injuries because nothing matters more than what? A victory for said fan base. So I'm very confused at that reaction where everybody's just playing the result and saying, see, we told you so. We told you so.
Right. Man, the result was the worst case scenario. You don't think in that case that if Tua goes out, you just saw him play the Bills game through that injury. I don't think in my heart of hearts, Mike McDaniel thinks like, what's the worst that's going to happen? He's going to get slammed into the ground and we're going to have to stretcher him off. Like, no, obviously, like T. Higgins played with a concussion that game, balled out. He's thinking that to himself, like, all right, you know what? Maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's 65% Tua, but he's probably not going to get what happened. I'm sure Mike McDaniel has probably woken up in a cold sweat thinking like, damn it, I probably shouldn't have let him play. I'm sure there is guilt there from the head coach because it's only natural to have that. But what is he to do? He has had this relationship he's built with the player. If the player wants to play in that case, and he was already dealing with a coach last year who would butt heads with him about when he's ready to come back. That I think is where you can get as a rookie head coach. Like, all right, I'm going to go with him. What's the worst that's going to happen? He's going to be fine. And yeah, it ended up awful, but I don't think that means that the coach did anything, that he did something evil.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely the biggest giveaway right there. What you said, he didn't do anything evil. And by the way, Tobin, for anybody saying that Mike McDaniel maybe was acting from a place of, like a selfish desire for his starting quarterback to play. Well, yeah, you're seeing it play out in real time because he knows that the guys backing him up aren't capable of doing the same things Tua Tagovailoa is doing. So is Mike McDaniel, yes, he's being diligent and listening to the team doctors. Yes, he's listening to his players and finding out how they feel, how they're feeling heading into the game. Do they want to test the limits and play through injury? Also, hey, Mike McDaniel has a job to do. He's a rookie head coach. His team is at the absolute highest point that they've been in 2 decades. They're 3-0, and it's in large part because of this specific player putting on performances we haven't seen in a very long time in Aqua and Orange. Yes, he wants him to be out there. You want to know why? Because if not, you get Skylar Thompson fumbling the ball, and you get Skylar Thompson throwing interceptions, or you get Teddy Bridgewater getting blown up on the very first play. Like, that's exactly why.
Skylar Thompson fumbling his play cards. That was crazy.
That was ugly. That was ugly, man. That was ugly. By the way, just that Teddy Bridgewater, the hit on the very first play, nobody's on the defender. I mean, have you ever seen
No.
Just like a straight shot to a quarterback on the first play? And then the idea that, I don't remember the word, ataxia or whatever it is.
Yeah. We don't need to get scientific about it. Dizzy and no balance.
It's basically if you struggle to get up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did he hesitate to get up? No, he didn't. No. He just got his bleeping lights knocked out of him on the first play of the game. Tobin, no quarterback is expecting to get hit on the first play of the game. You normally just,
especially not by a free willy-nilly cornerback.
Just the whole situation, it's dumb, man. I don't want this to sound like I'm diminishing the severity of head injuries. I'm diminishing the idea that these guys can have long-lasting effects from head injuries. Like, I'm not, man. That stuff is so important. But you were opening up a can of worms. I don't even know what that means, but I feel like I've been using it and nobody's checking on it yet. A can of worms with the way that they're dealing with this, because Braxton Berrios later in the game gets demolished as he's jumping into the end zone. When you watch the replay, there's clearly helmet-to-helmet contact. He's on the ground. He ripped off his helmet. He's on one knee for 2.5 minutes, and he's able to come back in the game. But Teddy Bridgewater, because it took him like a half second longer than it should have to get up, gets kicked out of the game despite showing no signs of concussions. I don't understand what we're doing anymore.
Dude, but here's the thing. Like, that's how it is in the NFL with everything. Like, there's no uniformity in any of these things. And every year it feels like there's a new controversy with NFL. Like, concussions obviously been a thing for a long time, but whether it's protocols and how guys are treated, whether it be roughing the passer, whether it be pass interference, reviewable, not reviewable, or whether it be what the hell's a catch, it feels like they always are dealing with something subjective that we never really have a clue of the answers. How many times are you just looking on the field, whether you're there live, but like when I'm watching TV, I can't tell you how many times I'm watching a broadcast. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what it is anymore. I don't know what intentional grounding is. Even Blake Ferguson, the long snapper, came out this week and he's like, I don't know what intentional grounding is anymore. I don't know what it is.
How is it intentional grounding if the defender's in your grill and there's somebody within 5 yards?
I don't know.
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that play either. I didn't get it.
Oh, man. Before we get out of here, Solana, what do you make of this? Tyreek Hill, who left the game in a walking boot, he tweeted out on Tuesday around 12:30, go time, with his peace emoji.
Ooh, go time?
Go time, dude.
Tua back? Time. Is Tua back?
Because he's holding up the 2 for Tua?
I mean, it's go time, Tobin.
Dude, let me tell you something right now. I miss him so much. I really want. I don't know when the appropriate time is to bring him back, because I don't want to be a greedy pig, but I'm a greedy football pig, and I want to roll in the slop that is Tua Tagovailoa's game. I miss him so much. We were having so much fun, dude. So much fun. Tyreek Hill, he's sitting out here telling reporters I can put up numbers with you. Apparently, he can put up numbers with them, but not Skylar Thompson. 7 catches for 46 yards.
Yeah, it was Jarvis Landry output with Ryan Tannehill. Very injury risk. But I would like to see, because Mike McDaniel alluded to it in his press conference, Tyreek Hill playing a walking boot. Let's get crazy. Let's see how far we can stretch this.
By the way, speaking of innovation, with the Skylar Thompson cards, with Microsoft having tablets up the wazoo, why can't we have like a little Apple Watch or like a Microsoft Watch there? What is this antiquated thing of I need to have a folding playbook thing? Like, why can't it just be a swipey swipe thing? I don't understand this. This seems so like seeing that happen to Skylar Thompson. I'm like, this is the dumbest. He has all the plays just there. And how is Christian Wilkins not tried to steal Mac Jones's index cards before?
Multi-billion-dollar industry, and they're relying on flashcards in sweatbands on their hand that they're writing down to get the right play. Want to know another thing, Tobin? I'm so sick of only one player on the field for the offense and one for the defense being able to communicate with the head coach.
Really?
Why? Why?
You want everybody?
Why not? Why can't everybody hear the play from the head coach? Like, why do you have to have that situation where the head coach gets the play from the offensive coordinator? In this case, it's Mike McDaniel on the sideline. He then translates it to the quarterback or whoever it is. It's always a quarterback on the offensive side. And then the quarterback has to tell everybody what's going on. Like, it's 2022. Just everybody's listening to the head coach because we have the technology to do it. Like, we need the quarterback to then go and relay the play because it's the way we've always done it. It's stupid. It's stupid.
I'm for change, man. I'm for change. I'm for updating stuff. You know, like there's all this controversy this week with Kyler Murray. And, you know, he didn't know what the first down marker was because we can all see it on TV. Why haven't they figured out how to have the first down marker on the field for realsies? That can't be that hard. How hard could that be? They can figure that out.
I told you, multi-billion-dollar industry, and you've got a chain link deciding football games.
So stupid.
A chain link and a bunch of out-of-shape fat guys on the sidelines holding up cushions telling you what's a first down and what's not a first down. You're telling me old Charles on the sideline who can't see, who's wearing glasses that he's had since 1973, is always accurate on the spotting of the sticks on the sideline? It makes no sense, Tobin. It makes no sense.
We're changing football on the Porpoise Pod here, dude. We are changing football. We are trying to make things better. That's our episode for today, everybody. We'll be back later in the week to look more ahead to Finns and Vikings. Solana, I will see you in the building tomorrow, and have a great night, man.
Get better, Tua.